Hey, how's everybody doing? Happy to be here. Correct. So opening this podcast specifically, the Twitter account used to be managed by the media team, which includes myself. But we realized later on down the line, sometime this year, that people who spent more time with the team themselves, i.e., the person who referred you to me, should basically be in charge of the Twitter account because they had most of the information moments of what happened there. It's like we could generate media and generate things to put on the Twitter account, but all like the interesting like day to day happenings are going on in her worldview rather than mine. So cool. So the club sort of started up before I got here, freshman year, which is 2 years ago for me. I'm a junior now. The club wasn't really that founded. It was more of just like a simple like gaming community. Like we'd play Smash on breaks, on certain weekends, kind of get together to watch, League of Legends World Finals, other things. That was basically the first year. Second year came around. Several people on the higher ranking of sort of faculty at the Colorado College wanted to create an esports program for most of their time here. I included Brian Young, who is Chief Technical Officer of the college, and my boss, Chad. So they wanted to create a club together. And the club that was already in place was sort of a good way to like start that up. They sent out a big email of like, would you be interested in doing this? If you're interested, come to this meeting. If you'd like to be on staff for this, also talk to us. So I talked to them, and here we are now, sort of the second year of the program. First year was a little bit rough. We kind of pushed through it, and now we're here in our second year. First year, we didn't really have a space to be in. We sort of occupied one of the computer labs in the library. We would stream out of just a room in the library somewhere. We had like one of our laptops. We would haul it around, and that was sort of the program then. We had some functioning teams, but they weren't at the level they are right now, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of support from the school, especially now and last year, end of last year. Brian Young sort of pushed the envelope in terms of like getting the school to like help, not fund, but a little funding, a little bit of like support, like where we're going to be. There's a library that got built just last year, and that computer lab we played in moved out of an older building into that building. So that was an empty, vacated space that was all linked up, all wired up. We occupy that space now this year, but before it wasn't. We have one faculty member who helps us out in terms of like upper level management decisions. It's Chad, in terms of talking to admin, doing other things to other colleges, and sort of operating on the scale that we can't really do. Brian Young's been a great help too in terms of acquiring funding. We got some money from Logitech for the space we're in now, for peripherals and whatnot. Uh, yeah, we have one dedicated faculty member who their job isn't to be our sort of overlord. It's more their sort of like secondary job kind of deal. They work for IT, so we're under IT's umbrella. All the budgeting that comes into us is technically theirs. So we're like a little tiny section of IT. We plan to make later on this year make it an official club sport. So we'll get our own funding that way. It won't be under IT anymore. That's kind of where we're headed. Yeah. Yep. Yep. It should be. Hmm. We have a fairly active Discord server, about 150 members or so. We have, I'd say, about 35 people interested in playing competitively. And then there's a bunch of casual folks tossed in the mix. Our casual events have kind of run to the wayside the past couple of years, or a couple of months rather. We still host small casual events, on the other hand. Not a lot of time though. We have a dedicated League of Legends and Overwatch team currently. We're trying to find a third esport to pick up. It's kind of tossed in the mix of like you pick up something like Rocket League or Smash. It's kind of up in the air as of now. But the Overwatch team has been dedicated since the program sort of started last year. They really wanted to get things done, so they showed a lot of initiative and drive, and they sort of took it into their own hands and are now very successful. So it's happy to see that going on. No, it's kind of up in the air. People have asked us, folks, students here at the college, been like, "What's the third game going to be? Like, can it be this?" And we're like, we can't really give them a solid answer. It's like if you show dedication, like you show improvement, like we can help you like make this a reality. And we have smaller programs. We sort of like essentially made this not a B team for Overwatch. We call it Overwatch 101, or if you are lower ranking than the current 18 players, you don't meet sort of the cutoff to like be a sub essentially. You can come in on certain hours of the day, certain days, play and get help from those on the A team. So it's like that cross team involvement of like people who know what they're doing, who have proof of their game knowledge, can help the next generation ramp their skills, kind of deal. In terms of the third game, it's just sort of a toss up of like what picks up the most speed. Smash is looking pretty good right now. Rocket League is looking pretty good because there's only 3 players to do that. Yeah, a lot of different things. Mhm. Right. Yep. Mhm. There's no real, yeah, no, nothing, no, Blast Blue, no Tekken, no, nothing out here, unfortunately. There is, I think, locals happen pretty frequently out in Colorado, but Smash is really the big scene out here. One of the things you're really concerned about when picking a third sport and other things was that of like how easy it is for somebody who doesn't watch a lot of esports to be able to watch it and become interested in it. It's like Rocket League is very simple in terms of like a viewership point of view. You can look at it, understand what's going on, and be entertained by it. League of Legends is like on the complete opposite end of that spectrum. Like you have to know the game to be able to know and be entertained. That's one of our big challenges we've had so far. There's like, what's the next thing going to be? It's like, how easily can you digest that esport and make sense of it and be entertained? Right. Yeah. Broadcasting team, sort of, we're trying to just engage more viewers and bring more viewership to the Twitch streams we do. We advertise to the college. We are working on advertising to the greater Colorado Springs area. There's potential to like stream on televisions, certain restaurants out here. But major aspirations is build viewership and create some sort of entertainment. What we've found success with in the past is we've had several players come off the Overwatch team and stream for us and broadcast with us. I've played Overwatch fairly often, but they have a whole new perspective on terms of like what the team is doing, what their objectives are, what they're doing right now, because they've been on the team itself. And they come in, they have this great game knowledge, this great team knowledge, and it really brings broadcast to the next level. In terms of goals of the actual program, we've met a lot of them this year. When we started, what we wanted to do was join like an official collegiate conference, essentially, as well as acquire our own space to practice in, to like do events in, to gather people in. We acquired that space earlier this year. I mentioned it briefly. And then in terms of conferences, we participated in TESPA this past season, but we're also one of the first Division III collegiate teams or conferences. That will happen in April in Texas. SCAC is our like collegiate conference for all of our varsity sports that aren't hockey or women's soccer. We're in that conference. So we made an esports conference, got the other schools involved in it. Now we're doing that. Coming this April, yeah. There are about 4 or 5 other teams, that includes Shriner University, Southwestern, Austin College, naming a few. Yeah. We've definitely found differences in that regard. We're a pretty small school. We're at about 2,500 students. So when we go up against our Division III competitors, not to put them down, but they sort of get steamrolled, at least in Overwatch. So it makes for interesting broadcast. But exactly, yeah. Um, in terms of like streaming other schools, we've played against CU Boulder, Denver University, other colleges that are much larger than us. CU Boulder is like 40,000 students. We've like gone toe to toe, like won a couple of games, but the difference in like just straight up how many people you have to like put on your team, like how many people are interested, is a big difference. So like we're looking into joining like Mountain Region Conference, which is Colorado University, the one down here, this University of Colorado in Fort Collins. We're looking into joining that program. But they're all Division I, II schools. And we're like, okay, well, we'll start a little bit lower, start slow. Let's support our fellow Division III competitors, and we'll make that happen first before we move on to bigger things. Was kind of the idea there. Yeah. Right. Hmm. Right. It used to be a lot more challenging when we were in something like TESPA in the sort of starting years of the program. We would essentially just join a Discord and like find some certain ranking team to practice against. And it's like, do you have this time off? This is like day and hour. It's like, yeah, okay, here we go. We're gonna scrim against this, this college. We played mostly against local teams. I mean, mentioned CU Boulder. UNCO also played against us. We went up there last year for their Bear Brawl and played against them. That was a lot of fun. But in terms of like what was going on last year was there's more than just myself with this position and title. There's several of us, so we all sort of band together and like do that kind of job. The other thing I mentioned that's really important is that our job titles weren't the only thing that we're doing. So like if I wasn't exactly picking up all the straws in terms of we need to find people to scrim, somebody like who is coordinating the Overwatch team could do that as well, and pick up those straws and be like, okay, we need to find somebody to play against next week, etc. When we joined the TESPA preseason and season this year, that was kind of taken care of for you. We didn't need to scrim anybody because of how regular those matches were. Those matches happened every Saturday, 6 p.m., no exceptions. So you had to be ready for that, and we would just stream those. Um, then it moved from my responsibility to find the scrims to the not the team captain, but we have like a coordinator for the Overwatch team. It became their job to sort of discuss with the team and like what we're going to do to scrim. Do we need a scrim, etc. We picked up a coach this year as well. They're not permanent or like on site. They're just online coach for Overwatch team. They join the Discord. They talk to players. Sort of manage that. I'm not really entirely sure of their specific roles, but they come in, coach, help the players out, talk, do VOD reviews, that kind of deal. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's like any like determining factor that makes like Colorado college esports. I'm sort of excited to see like the camaraderie and like the mentorship. I think is what makes us us in terms of like trying to build the program, which is possible. I think a lot of programs sort of fall flat when they don't like internally recruit or like don't support the players that can't do as well. Like a lot of varsity sports for colleges, you're recruiting like the top players from certain locations, and they come in, they perform for you. But in our case, we have this like great cadre of players that can exceed in Overwatch, but there's also this like section of players that like don't play as competitively, but they can and they'd like to improve. And like the whole idea there is that regardless of where they are in their 4 years of college, 5 years of college, they need to not like be they need to like, be mentored essentially to like be able to achieve their own goals and like potentially join the team and participate. So there's no like the whole idea of the program is like it needs to become a family is like what I've heard many times from like my staffers, from other people on the program. It's like the idea is there's a relationship between everybody. They have these bonds. Like you come to the family you need to. There's a space for you to go to. Yeah, that kind of deal. I think the family aspects what really makes us us. Not not really no. So esports specifically, I've been not really a great participant in esports since I played video games. I sort of started playing video games with Team Fortress 2. I never really joined any of the small like competitive organizations there. A couple of my friends did. I used to like watch them do it. It'd be like, man, that'd be fun to do, but I don't have the time to do that, middle of high school. And then I came here. I like tried to find people to play games with. They weren't always there. I found the club. It wasn't an esports club at that point in time, just like a small gaming club. And then I've like been sort of not super like I've been a little bit passionate about trying to like do esports, like find things to do and like look into it. Like I liked watching broadcasts. I was like, man, that'd be fun to do sometime. Just like broadcast something or do anything involved with esports. Like I have two like very different like sort of passions of like I need to like study weather and science and like do this kind of like need to balance that and like video games and esports. And that was kind of like my whole like life goals basically. And then the email came out and I was like, if you want to work for esports, like do it. I'm like, man, that would be a lot of fun to do. And so we did. At Here I am, really. Like I've had a passion for playing video games most of my life, but it only really culminated in esports in my college life. So it's been a great time personally. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Right. I think we're pretty well set to do that. We have a great space to perform that in, like attract people to to the program itself. Um, Next couple of years, we'll have the old guard of staff kind of move out. Most of our, probably half of our staff will graduate this year or so. So we have to replace all those people with other people. And we'll be sad to see them go, but we're excited for new prospects because we've had since we started last year, a lot of the OR's team are all freshmen from last year, and they're sophomores now, so they'll have plenty of years to build that relationship and continue on. And then, no, we're pretty well set up in terms of like finding people to come in and like work for the program and like join us. We've had several people with different walks of life join the program as well. In terms of like previous statement of like there haven't really been that many people who sort of thought in their minds like I want to do esports as my job. Like I need to find it and like search it out. There's one other person that I know. His name is Josh, who also works for us. That was his kind of dream goal. He was a film major, but he's always been passionate about esports gaming, so that's what he wanted to do. So he sought it out, and here he is, essentially being like a student manager for all of us. And then we've hired people with different walks of life. We've hired folks with like no gaming experience. We've hired folks with like little experience. We've hired people who like sort of one of our staff members is the editor of the small campus newspaper. It's like a editorial kind of deal, like an art magazine essentially. No, we've hired a lot of different people from all over, and then the hires we picked up mostly are underclassmen, so there's no real worries of like what they're able to do because they've all exceeded and excelled. So that's I think we're pretty well set up in terms of like finding people who want to do stuff here and picking them up. I mean, we've hired internally pretty often as well. If they show up to like Overwatch 101, they show up to other events, like, man, I love to be on staff. It's like, well, there's an opening, coming up. Would you be interested in doing this? What's your skill set? Can you broadcast? Can you edit media? What can you do for us? And it's like, it happens. It just kind of falls into place. Right. Some of the things we worked together pretty hard to build was sort of like diversity and inclusion sort of deal. We One thing we wanted to avoid the most was making esports become like a boys club. So like where we're stationed is essentially the basement of a building, because the lab was down there. It's all like hooked up to internet, etc. But what we didn't want to do was like fall off the face of the planet in terms of the views of the college and the greater population of the college. Like, what are these people doing? They're just like in this basement of this building playing video games. All these like gross boys down here. No, so we worked really hard to like find people to join the program that weren't male identifying. So we have every Friday we have several hours out of the night of like feminine identifying people come in. They play video games casually, play video games competitively, do whatever you want to do. We work to sort of advertise the program to the college and like make things not as caustic towards those who weren't essentially gamers or other people that really didn't fall into like who didn't belong to like the boys club per se. So we improved on that a lot and made it into something that we can all be proud of instead of being some sort of deficit to the program. And then what other things we sort of achieved this year? I think that was our big one that we picked up. And then in terms of organization, I mentioned earlier that the Overwatch team was sort of always organized, but our League of Legends team didn't really find a lot of players to join that team. And it's like uh, last year, this year we've found more people to do it. We've sort of solidified like what the requirements are, like how often you have to come to practice. You can't really skip practice. You need to show up and like show your dedication to the team, and then here you are. how it sort of works on our campus is that a lot of colleges have magnetic card swipe basically to like, get into buildings. The lab is obviously locked with that technology, so if you don't show dedication, you don't have that drive to like participate and like be on the team, you don't have access to that location. You can still come in and sort of open hours, which we do as well to like facilitate people coming in and out of the lab, but it's being used for practice or it's closed, and you can't just pop it and be like, I need to work here kind of deal. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously. Right. Mhm. Yeah. Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, so what we've sort of done this past year and up and coming for next year, sort of plan for that loss ahead of time. We're losing some fairly important people, some like not so important people. Most of the media team is sort of splitting off and like going. They're all graduating. It's just myself and another person left over from five, I believe. Um, but those who are leaving weren't necessarily heavily invested into the stream or into production. They're mostly doing behind the scenes work of like taking photos or doing other things like managing the website, which can all be learned as a skill and used again. So we have Marco, who is one of my peers on the staff program, is sort of learning how to manage the website. He's a CS major. He's picking it up so that skill we passed on to him, and he'll acquire that. One of our major forefronts for the program, Lily, you talked to her, I believe, on Twitter, was is leaving as well. She's graduating, or they're graduating rather, and so we're trying to find a replacement for them. They are currently the Overwatch coordinator, and they spend a lot of time with the team, and they get to know the team, and they work to manage the team, the schedule scrims, other sort of things. And then so they're being replaced by somebody else, and we're training that person. They're training that person to be able to do that job efficiently. Everything they've learned over this past year, we pass on to them. That kind of deal. So we're essentially just making it possible by overhiring a little bit this year and training folks to be able to pick up their what's left behind, essentially. So we'll have fewer hires next year, but I think the next section of folks that are currently here that are coming in will be able to do their jobs well because we've laid the foundation, training the people that need to be there to pick up the slack, basically. No, yeah. I don't think it'll be that detrimental, personally. Mhm. Right, for sure. Mm. So we're received well, but I think our biggest problem is having people know of us. The campus is very outdoor oriented, as you might expect out here in Colorado, being a private college. A lot of people like to go skiing or be outside during long breaks. And then we're in a basement in a building, so you can't really be seen by a lot of people. And then those who like want to see the stream will find it if you're already like oriented. Like I'm gonna watch somebody playing video games today. You go on Twitch, you find the stream. But those who like don't really play a lot of video games will never find that. It's like one of our big task lists with media was essentially creating media that could be put around campus to be able to like make the program be seen and like not accepted but like advertised essentially. So there's all these television on campus that like broadcast like, events that are going on, sort of scheduling other images, and we've made media for that, like game times, other things. Lily ran a program and will continue to run a program soon on. We call Quickscope. This is like essentially documentaries of all the players in the Overwatch team, like what they do outside of playing video games, what their life stories are. That's been a lot of fun to like watch and observe the differences in everybody. Everybody comes from different life. I think if I talk to people about the program on campus, it should be well responded to and like accepted. There's some doubts of like we have an esports team, like why do we have that sort of deal? But I think overall, it's be accepted for sure. Yeah. Hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. I think yeah. I think around here it's less of esports is a thing, more of like we have something of esports. Why is that a thing? Why is the college sort of like what's going on kind of deal? Yeah. No. Yeah. Yep. Mhm. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think one of the things to look out for as well is how young players are now. Like the Rocket League. I'm like sitting over here at 20. Okay. They're Rocket League players, professional players, like 16, 17, 18 years old. I'm over here at 22 years old. Like man, it's like what's happened? It's like their prime esports age is past. Like oh no, kind of deal. Um, right. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Yeah. Right. Mhm. I think my reply is like because there's interest in it. And, like it wouldn't exist to do it. If people didn't want to see it happen, is my like sort of basic reply. I think that there's a lot of things that happen on college campuses that people are like, why is this? Why we have this kind of program? Like I don't use that thing, but like other people use that program. It's like they need it for them, and like I think that's like one of the big deals of like the world is like I don't use this service. Why should it exist? But like other people are going to use it. Other people are going to find joy in it, find a family that didn't have one, kind of deal. I think. And then in terms of like operating costs are incredibly low. It's like the whole like deal with esports, I think, is like making a space for yourself and acquiring equipment is like the big like two sort of entry barriers. Like if you can't bypass those barriers, you're not going to be able to like facilitate that area, that space you're operating in. So that was sort of fixed for us, I guess is the word used there. Was produced and then everything kind of operates from there. So right. Hmm. Right. More or less. Yep. Right. And like computer parts don't age that fast. They don't come obsolete. So we essentially had a couple student workers build all the systems over the summer. There they were. You know, we have 12, 14 computers just ready to be used and available. All works out. Mhm. So it used to be free form, wear as many hats as you can in the past. We sort of took it upon ourselves to like change it up a little bit this past semester. Now we have like two to three distinct sections of the program. We have an outreach section and a media section, and logistics is sort of in the corner. There's four or five people on each team, and their sort of job descriptions fall under that umbrella of outreach or that umbrella of media. So I'm under I do broadcasting production, amongst other things, and then outreach sort of runs Overwatch 101. They do Fem Fridays in the lab. They advertise outside of campus. They focus on diversity and inclusion, other kind of deals. A lot of people on outreach are also on the team right now, so that kind of causes a bunch of things. But one of the biggest things we always mention is that your job description doesn't limit you. If you want to do something, you can do it. So, for example, Lily, is under the outreach umbrella and does logistics for the team. They're the team coordinator, but they wanted to, produce this documentary series. They did it. There is no sort of anything stopping them from doing that. If you want to sort of cross over your domain of media and do something more involved in outreach, you can, but don't sort of slack off on your other duties you need to be doing essentially. When it was sort of wear as many hats as you want, things got done, but there was a disorganization in sort of what was getting done. People didn't really know, like, if I finish a task, what do I do now? And then in terms of like who's leading those groups, we rotate. So what we're doing right now is we're experimenting with one student lead at the top of both. So they will sit in on meetings for each group, and then within each group there's one lead as well. Their main job is to sort of keep a task list, make sure we have times for meetings, and then when those tasks supposed to be done, make sure you're pinging people Discord. Is this done? You didn't tell me, etc. So I keep up to task. So like it's their responsibility to know what's going on and be able to report to Josh, who's sort of up at the top. Mhm. Well, it's not really rotating point in contact. Chad is our faculty member. the overlord. Josh is below him. He's a student staffer. And his sort of only job is to make sure the two groups are doing what they need to be doing. And within those two groups, there's four of us in each group. We rotate sort of the leadership head. Everybody still is at all the meetings, but it's that one person's responsibility to make sure things are getting done with the group and report that to Josh. Essentially, is sort of how that works out. So like instead of having like the group sort of be like, oh, it was Charlie's job, like it was Charlie's job, but you need to like ask him, is it done? And then if it wasn't done, it's up to you to make sure it gets done, kind of make sure he does it. So it sort of just like shifts responsibility from like a group collectively to more of not only one person. It just makes them accountable. That's the word. It makes them accountable for what the group is doing. It just makes communication clear. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no. Mhm. Like the reason we rotate is like due to the nature of the college operating on a different schedule than usual. Like we operate on a block schedule, but like there's 8 blocks per year. You take one class at a time. So like it allows people to merge in and out of like responsibility level based upon what you have plans. Like if I'm taking a 300 level physics course, I don't want to sort of be the head accountability person for that block. But next block, I'm taking a more relaxed course. I'll take it my responsibility to do that. Um, kind of meshes better. We haven't really had a bunch of problems with it yet. We've only been doing it for this semester, so we'll see how it plays out for the rest of it. Still half of it left, but there's always time to sort of reconfigure and like reconvene later on down. What we'd like to have happen is for Josh to potentially come back and be a faculty member that's dedicated to esports. So like Chad has other things to deal with. He's working in IT. He's a big number there, so he has to be able to manage those responsibilities. Those responsibilities first and foremost. Esports is second to that. It's still something he enjoys doing, but it's not his primary focus. The idea is that Josh comes back next year as a faculty member and does only esports, but we'll see if that happens or not. Hmm. Right. Like athletics, there's like certain requirements you have to meet to be able to participate on the team on the esports program. You have to meet a certain GPA. You have to meet other requirements. Um, but in terms of like making sure they focus on getting education, like you can't like most important thing is the GPA. I think is like it can't be slacking. You have to be able to be doing your classes, going to class. There's several players on our teams that are also involved in other things around campus. Like for example, one of our challenges this year was managing one of our League of Legends players who's also on the tennis team. So he's sort of got that duality of I need to like focus on athletics, academics, and esports. So it's like okay, it's a lot beyond your plate, but he's managing it very well. And then in terms of like who we had to sub in for him if we don't have anybody to play for this event, and that is sort of like on the table. Yeah. Hmm. Right. 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 Mhm. I think at least for this year, competitive edge up almost near the first spot. Like we sort of like had to make a name for ourselves this year. Last year was sort of the same deal of like, if this program is going to continue, you have to make a name for yourself, be recognized by the college and continue growing, et cetera, et cetera. So that was sort of forefront for this year, which also sort of diverged into making the family sort of there, like making that sort of idea of people can come in and practice. And that space is not only for those who show dedication that are on the team already, but if you'd like to be on the team, having that access to the equipment is, a great boon to them. So if you're like somebody in your dorm room playing your laptop, playing some Overwatch, and it runs, 30 FPS, how much of a benefit can you gain from being in a lab space that runs it perfectly, essentially? And there's a lot to be gained from there. So removing the idea of like hardware limitations. Excuse me. In terms of like other things, I think that characterize the not family, but like sense of family and competitive edge. I think of just nothing off the top of my head, to be honest. Those are the two big driving factors of like people want to like feel included and like feel like they're participating, and also being maintain that sort of way to like show our mm, stuff. I guess sort of be there. Oof. Yep. Cool. So the esports section, our club here has a website. It's coloradocollege.edu/esports. Pretty easy to find. You'll find a link to our Discord on the webpage. Feel free to join. Come in if you're a guest. We always let people drop in playing games, other things along those lines. We stream on Twitch fairly frequently. Our SCAC games, the conference we're in, sort of happens nebulously. They don't really have a set schedule. But we're planning on putting those game times on that website when those happen. Those games happen, and then if you follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Colorado College, you'll get notified if you're following us when we start broadcasting. Um, so yeah, that's the extent of our social media. Besides Twitter, Twitter as well is big. It's on the website. I don't know the exact URL off the top of my head. It's different from the other ones, but that is something that is a great boon to us. Lily does an excellent job of making Twitter updated and like more social and integrated into what the Overwatch team is doing, what the team is doing itself. So those resources, Twitter, Twitch, and the website are all really great. Website also has like player images and like records of from TESPA, other sort of things. If you're interested in like statistics, those are all there too. There you go. Yeah. My pleasure. Will do. Thank you a lot. Appreciate it. Had a great time. Will do. Okay, cool.